we're all wearing masks here.
Yes.
And because we're socially distant, you can keep your mask on. I bet this is strange to be in a time of pandemic and all that, huh?
Well, actually, we had the Spanish flu back when I was alive. We had our pandemic. That's actually what I caught before I died.
We know you lived here in Oklahoma. Can you tell us something about your younger years?
Oh, yes. Well, I was born in Jackson, Tennessee, and me and my family moved here to Shawnee in the Oklahoma Territory around the fall of 1902. Then I went to college at the Territorial Normal School in Edmond, and I graduated, I believe the year was 1908.
Oh, wow. So you were in school here before Oklahoma was even a state.
Yes, they didn't vote it into statehood until 1907, the year before I graduated.
So after graduation, what were your plans?
Oh, well, I taught kindergarten for several years at Shawnee's Harrison School.
Oh. Mm-hmm. What did you do around that time besides teach? Anything else?
Well, I traveled a lot. I traveled up to the University of Chicago and to New York for drama classes. People there were so different, such an interesting way of life, right?
And so your drama elements actually informed kind of coming back. Weren't you a part of a Shakespeare club?
Oh, yes. When I returned,
Yeah.
I was part of the Shakespeare Club, the Women's Suffrage Association, and the National Women's Suffrage Association.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
First of all, let's get some facts straight. Suffrage is not a right, it is a privilege that may or may not be granted by the Founding Fathers. And it is not part of our original Constitution. And there are plenty of people, both men and women, that believe politics is no place for a woman. Those people have a right to be heard as well. Those Americans have a right to be heard as well. Consequently, the suffrage privilege should not be granted.
If so, then the blessings of liberty are forever withheld from women and their female posterity. To them, this government has no just powers derived from the consent of the governed. This government is not a democracy. It is an odious aristocracy, a hateful oligarchy of sex, the most hateful aristocracy ever established on the face of the globe.
You need to vote because our democracy depends on it. When we don't vote, then other voices will fill that void.
I want to thank you both for joining me on Zoom today. I appreciate you taking your time to be here and to answer these questions. My first question is, do you think women are accurately represented in Congress right now?
No.
Absolutely not, no.
Out of the 535 members of Congress, only, 127 of them are women?
That's, I think, 24%.
Which is crazy because it's so important that women are a part of the discussion.
Exactly, so that I think issues concerning women should be addressed and
yes, issues like women's rights, personal safety, and economic security. I mean, I know it's 2020, but pay inequality is still so real.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason that I should be making less than a man for doing the same job that he's doing.
You know, there's actually this organization called the Institute for Women's Policy Research who did a study and stated that it's going to take women another 40 years before we can reach a point where we can close that pay gap.
That's crazy. Getting back to being represented in Congress, I really don't think that you can expect a government overruled by men to make logical, good decisions on the behalf of a woman.
Exactly, because after all, they've never really experienced my body type.
Yeah, well, not only that, but women being involved in Congress can give women nationwide an outlet to express ourselves and make our voices heard.
Yes, exactly. Plus, these young girls everywhere need people to look up to. Their brains are our future and their voices matter too.
Oh my god.
This is crazy. Yeah, we're going to have to practice social distancing, so you'll have to take a couple steps back. Right? And then if you will go ahead and take a few more steps back, that way you're separated from her, and that's how we can take our masks off now. Because you'll have to speak up really loud to be heard, okay?
Okay.
So, my first question, I guess, is should women even be in politics?
No. I think men should be the only ones in politics. I mean, they make all our decisions for us already, so why change it?
Right. I really don't see why women should be in politics. Like, I don't know anything about government, and I don't see how we're supposed to be congresswomen.
Literally. I think I speak for all women when I say that being in government is just too much work.
And honestly, if Hillary Clinton is going to be the president, then she should at least get a better wardrobe first.
Oh my gosh, yes! Nobody can pull off a pantsuit, especially not in that god-awful thing.
I'm not voting for a woman unless she can actually dress herself.
Right.
Well, so, of course, World War I came along during that time. Did you have any involvement during World War I?
Yes, I volunteered for the Red Cross. They had me in charge of selling Liberty bonds and eventually serving as state secretary of the nursing department for the Southwestern Division.
Weren't you awarded the Liberty Bond lapel pin for your work with the Red Cross? Am I right about
Yes. I remember the letter I received with it stated that the pin was made from captured German cannons. Isn't that neat?
Wow. And so then you were supervising the Red Cross, right?
Yes. Well, they had me supervising the teaching at the state normal colleges.
Oh, great.
I stand in support of the mothers. Mothers whose influence is needed in the home, not on the streets neglecting her children. Let her teach her daughters that modesty, patience, and gentleness are the charms of every woman. Let her teach her sons that an honest conscience is every man's first political law. These gentle lessons, this loving instruction rendered from none other at the knee of a doting mother, a mother who sees the care of her family as a duty to civilization and a blessing from God.
Are women persons? Being persons, women are citizens. And no state has the right to make any new law or enforce any old law that shall abridge these privileges or immunities. Hence, every discrimination against women in the constitutions and laws of the several states is today null and void, precisely as is every one against Negroes.
This time, on this issue, there must be no delay, no hesitation, and no compromise on our purpose. We cannot, we must not refuse to protect the right of every American to vote in this election if they choose to participate in it. And we ought not, and we cannot wait another 8 months for a bill to pass. We have already waited 100 years and more. The time for waiting is gone.
But you and I are here. We can bear witness to the distance we have come and the progress we have made in 50 years. And we must take this moment to recommit ourselves to do the work that needs to be done. For there is still work left to be done. Get out there and push and pull to redeem the soul of America. People often ask me, why do you come back? What purpose does it serve? We come to be renewed. We come to be inspired. We come to be reminded that we must do the work that justice and equality calls us to do.
So what you're saying is you think women need a bigger say in government, period?
Oh, absolutely. Because, I mean, compared to the past, there has been a big growth in the amount of women and minorities serving in the United States Senate and House of Representatives.
We should definitely all have a say in the government and the decisions made within it. Excuse me.
Okay, let me ask you this. What amendment gave women the right to vote, and do you know what year it was passed?
I didn't know we needed an amendment for that. Haven't we always been able to vote?
No, we fought the Revolutionary War for the right to vote, right?
Girl, no. It was the Civil War, civil rights, right?
You're right, you're right.
Yes. And anyways, that happened in like 2012.
So, tell me, what made you join the suffragist movement?
Good question. Well, you see, in New York, I met women who were fighting for equality. Women business owners, women in politics, women who were earning their own living. And I came to understand that none of these women were any more determined, strong-willed, energetic, or innovative than the women we have right here in Oklahoma. And if the women in New York City can have lives of self-determination, there was no reason women in Oklahoma can't have the same lives.
You know, you've been described as a martyr for the women's suffrage.
Well, I appreciate that, but to be perfectly frank, I would rather not have been.
It kind of reminds me, what is that old saying?
From Shakespeare, the Twelfth Night? Let's see. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Yes, I believe that was the case here.
Okay.
It is the men who take on the burden of the government, the labor of industries, and the perils of this cruel world. Do women have to vote in order to receive the protection of man? Why? Men have gone to war and endured every hardship, including death itself, in the defense of women. To man, woman is the most dearest creature on earth, and there is no extreme to which he would not go for his mother or sister. Man will go to any extreme to protect and elevate her.
It was we the people, not we the white male citizens, nor yet we the male citizens, but we the whole people who formed this union. And we formed it not to give the blessings of liberty, but to secure them, not to the half of ourselves and the half of our posterity, but to the whole people, women as well as men. And it is a downright mockery to talk to women of their enjoyment of the blessings of liberty.
There is no constitutional issue here. The command of the Constitution is plain. There is no moral issue. It is wrong, deadly wrong, to deny any of your fellow Americans the right to vote in this country. There is no issue of states' rights or national rights. There is only the struggle for human rights.
Before America even existed, women were serving this country, facing danger, risking their lives, even dressing up like men so they'd be allowed to serve this country. And it's never been an easy path. I can only imagine how challenging it has been, and it continues to be for all women out there.
Our nation is founded on the principle that we do not have kings. We have presidents, and the Constitution is our compass. When you see something that is not right, not just, not fair, you have a moral obligation to say something, to do something. Our children and their children will ask us, what did you do? What did you say? For some, this vote may be hard, but we have a mission and a mandate to be on the right side of history.
And instead of working, does a woman belong at home, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the children and the family? Isn't that a better place for her?
A woman definitely does have an obligation in the care of her children, but I don't see why that would make her homebound.
No, if both parties are present in the child's life, I don't see why that would make the responsibility of caring for that child rest solely on the mother.
Exactly, because a woman's job should not be solely based on her gender.
Absolutely not. I completely agree.
I mean, think of all of the discoveries that would have never happened if a woman chose to stay in their home.
Right. And there have been so many successful women that have accomplished their dreams and their ambitions while still being able to take care of their children.
And a lot of them didn't even have help from the father.
Yeah. So, Bella Abzug was a lawyer in the 70s, and she was actually known for saying a woman's place is in the house.
In the House of Representatives.
Do you think mothers are able to balance their work and home life?
Well, I wouldn't know. My nanny was like the only one who took care of me, so I never really saw my mom anyways.
My mom always told me to marry rich, so I didn't really ever
know that women needed to work, right?
I don't really know that women ever really actually worked.
Oh my gosh. I mean, home life and work life is like the same thing, right?
You're totally right. Is this like a trick question or something?
Oh my god, it is.
But indeed, essentially the last thing you did was make an impassioned case for women's right to vote. Isn't that right?
It is, and it's kind of you to put it that way. Around 1918, the amendment was out for ratification among the states. And quite frankly, I thought Oklahoma was dragging its feet on putting it to a vote. And it was for the silliest argument. The governor said that calling a special session was too expensive. So I wrote to all the attendees and convinced them to pay their own expenses. And to their credit, they did allow a forum where I was able to debate this issue with Mr. Freeling, the state attorney general.
Well, what was that like?
Well, I don't want to go into details. That would be talking out of school. But I made a profound argument, and all indications were that it resonated with those in attendance.
So, at this point, you're not feeling well, and you attend this debate, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, to be honest, I was quite sick. I just didn't know how sick.
Well, so you attend this debate, you win the argument, you go home, and within 48 hours you succumb to the illness, right?
Yes.
Seems very grand.
Oh, you make it sound very heroic. It was silly on my part.
But it did indeed have a profound effect, right?
Well, yes. 2 weeks later, the special session was called and the amendment was ratified.
Women's suffrage has been a proven and miserable failure in states that have tried it. California, Colorado, in every instance, statistics have shown crime has increased, juvenile delinquency, divorces have increased, the destruction of our families and homes as women have abandoned their duties in pursuit of escapades I cannot fathom. Why would we lead our mothers and daughters to the gallows of public scrutiny? Let women perform those high duties intended to her by the great Creator, and she will accomplish far more in governmental affairs than she can ever accomplish by mixing up in the dirty pool of politics. I implore you, keep the home pure and all will be well with the Republic.
The last time a president sent a civil rights bill to Congress, it contained a provision to protect voting rights in federal elections. The Civil Rights Bill was passed after 8 long months of debate. And when that bill came to my desk from Congress, the heart of the voting provision had been eliminated. But even if we pass this bill, the battle is far from over.
We have the chance, not the certainty, but the chance to restore some sanity into our politics. And we won't win people over by calling them names or dismissing an entire chunks of this country as racist, sexist, or even homophobic. When I say bring people together, I mean all of our people. And that is what we have to do in this election and every election after that.
This city, on the banks of the Alabama River, gave birth to a movement that would change this nation forever. Our country will never, ever be the same because of what happened on this bridge.
Hey, great. Do you mind, yeah, I was trying to figure out what your t-shirt is. Do you mind showing us what your t-shirt says?
On my t-shirt?
Yeah.
For sure.
Fight for the things you care
Yeah, what does it say?
It's a Ruth Ginsburg shirt. It says, fight for the things that you can't,
That you care about.
that you care about, excuse me, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you.
Oh, nice.
Wow,
Okay,
what
good.
a quote.
Good. Well, so you don't, do you think a woman should prioritize her husband's needs above her own?
I think that the members of a relationship need to prioritize each other's needs while also prioritizing their own. I think it's a common misconception that's spread by anti-feminists, anti-activists, that a feminist sees themselves above men when that is not the case whatsoever.
Absolutely, because the definition of a feminist, it stands for equality. That means equal opportunities and treatment for all people, regardless of their gender. Any two people in a relationship should be independent for themselves and build their partner up.
Yeah, if you want a relationship to work and be healthy, both parties are going to have to be willing to contribute equally, and one person should absolutely not be expected to give their all based on their gender.
Do you think it's a man's job to protect women?
Obviously it is. I can't afford to break a nail right now, let alone protect myself.
If I'm walking around with a brand new Louis Vuitton purse, I need a man with me to make sure that nobody steals it.
A woman's job is to sit there and look pretty. And a man's job is to protect us. If they can't do that, why are they here?
Let them know. Preach.
So what do you think of your legacy?
Legacy. A legacy sounds very grand. There were plenty of people who did more than I. A wise man once said, legacy is not leaving something for people. It's leaving something in people. The idea of equality, the nobility of a citizen, the responsibility of the electorate, it turns out that that's a legacy worth dying for. And I wholeheartedly agree.
So, there's a park named for you in Shawnee.
Isn't that the sweetest thing? Yes, it's nice to hear your name on a structure like that. But eventually, cities fall and parks go away. But the great use of life is to spend it on something that'll outlast it, don't you think?
Well, I sure would like to believe so.
Energetic as this exercise is, it does not get to the heart of the challenge facing our great country. It is a hard truth that no one up here seems to want to admit. There is no white privilege, only green privilege. Money. The economics of our society is what separates us from man from woman, from black from white, from labor from management. It is so fashionable to attack those who have worked hard to achieve financial success. But let me remind my friends that the 1% of this country pays for 20% of this country. And they don't get anything special for that. The water doesn't come out of the tap 20 times faster. The fire department doesn't arrive 20% sooner. And they don't get 20 times the more votes. They get one, just like everybody else. You can't take away American opportunity because it is built out of hope. A hope that is in the very DNA of this nation. I can succeed. I can win. I can do better. I can go farther than my parents have. That hope, that belief that anything is possible is what drives us. It's what inspires us to invent more, discover more, lead in every possible creative endeavor. Take away Americans' hope, and you take away the American dream.
So, if you don't like what's going on, and you shouldn't, do not complain. Don't hashtag, don't get anxious, don't retweet, don't binge on whatever it is that you're binging on. Don't lose yourself in ironic detachment. Don't put your head in the sand. Don't boo. Just vote. 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes of your time. Is democracy worth that?
This was the first nation in the history of the world that was founded with a purpose. The great phrases of that purpose still sound in every American heart, north and south. All men are created equal. Government by consent of the governed. Give me liberty or give me death. Those are not just clever words, and they're not just empty theories. In their name, Americans have fought and died for 2 centuries. And tonight, around the world, they stand there as guardians of our liberty, risking their lives.
So, I ask you to join me in working long hours, nights, and weekends if necessary to pass this bill. For from the window where I sit with the problems of our country, I recognize that outside this chamber is the outraged conscience of a nation, the grave concern of many nations, and the harsh judgment of history on our actions.
In the final analysis, we are one people, one family, the human family, and we all live in the same house, the American house, the world house. We are black, we are white, we are Hispanic, Asian American, Native American, but we are one people.
So, concerning the right to vote, what's your opinion over the suffrage movement specifically?
I'm very, very, very thankful that it happened, period. I think that the suffrage movement was a huge step forward for women everywhere.
Yeah, if it wasn't for women like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton, we would still be so far into the Stone Ages. It's really amazing that those women stood up during a time in which it was so dangerous to do so.
Yeah, like not only did they fight for their rights and their ability to be heard, but they also fought for the women's rights after them.
Exactly. I am so grateful for everything those women have done for us.
Have you heard of a woman named Aloysius Larch-Miller here in Oklahoma?
Yes.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
she was a suffragist who wound up, you know, giving her life in order to see to it that the 19th Amendment passed here in Oklahoma. What do you think about that?
I think you go ahead.
Okay. I think she made a big sacrifice, but it led to so much. And as a woman, like in the year 2020, like she was standing up for something that she believed in. And I think we need to continue to do the same and continue pushing forward with making that progress.
Excellent.
I think it's absolutely just brave, like, especially in a time when it was just so, you didn't see women doing that. You didn't see women going out against what their husband wanted them to do. You didn't see women speaking their voices really, and the fact that she even died to make it a point that she wants all of the women everywhere to be heard, I think is absolutely amazing.
How do you think women's suffrage has affected America today?
Wait, what's suffrage again?
Suffrage is the right to vote.
Oh, right, gotcha.
I mean, I run all my decisions through my dad anyways, so I just kind of vote for whoever he tells me to. I don't see why I would affect America.
Yeah, my mom told me that after the incident of picking my own outfit in the 4th grade, I was never allowed to make any decisions ever again.
All right, well, how do you think women not being strictly homemakers has affected America today?
Well, millennials don't really own their own houses anymore. We spend all our money on avocados, or at least as my parents tell me. So I guess we don't really have enough homes to make.
Yeah, so that probably leads to like a decline in the housing markets or something. Did I use that right? Did I say that
Girl,
correctly?
yes, you're golden. Oh my god, you should go into politics. Oh my god, I would like totally vote for you.
So, you know, people say a lot of things. Some of the things you hear are things like, this is a working man's world. What's your response to that?
I disagree. I think it's a place for anyone who's willing to work hard enough for their goals, especially in such a progressive area as America and such a progressive year like 2020.
Yeah. Well, even in our past, in the history during World War II, around I think it was 350,000.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, yeah, 350,000 American women joined the military to work jobs like nursing, airplane repair, delivery, and so much more.
Around 36% of just the civilian labor force, like this is not counting military women workers, just the civilian labor force was 36% of women.
So to answer your question, no, the women of today need to follow the strong footsteps of those from our past and claim their place in this world.
I completely agree, 100%.
You know, recently, 100 million Americans chose not to vote. How do you feel about that?
Well, I gave my life to securing women the right to vote. Surely you have opinions. Do something about it. Voting is governing. Voting makes a difference. Voting says to politicians, remember, I am your employer, and you're there to represent me. And let me add this. As an educator, I hasten you to be informed. Make informed decisions about the issues and the candidates. Citizenship is hard, but it's worth your efforts.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.